So, this is the second video on equations with fractions. You can see that we now have two fractions in the equation. We've got 3/4 of x and minus 1/5 equals 2. So the question that we have to ask ourselves now is, how do we get rid of a dividing 4 and a dividing 5 at the same time? Now we're definitely going to multiply. Here's a question to you, or a suggestion rather. Although I suspect some of you will know immediately what to do. What we could do is consider the 4 times table. 4 1s are 4, 4 2s are 8, 4 3s are 12, 4 4s are 16, 4 5s are 20, 4 6s are 24. In the 5 times table, 5 1s are 5, 5 2s are 10, 5 3s are 15, and 5 4s are 20. 5 5s are 25. Now, what's the smallest number that's common to both sets of multiples? It's the number 20. What we're really doing is looking for the lowest common multiple. The lowest common multiple, the LCM of 4 and 5. And that is 20. So we're going to multiply by 20 then. Now, the next question is, what do we multiply? Multiply this, or multiply this, and we must remember to multiply this as well. So 20 times 3 is 60. Remember the bottom line doesn't change. 20 times 1 is 20. Again the bottom line doesn't change, and 20 times 2 is 40. So 60 divided by 4 is 15, and the fraction has disappeared. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and again the fraction has disappeared. Next thing to do, we want to get rid of the minus 4. So that gives us 15x equals 44. And we want to divide by 15 to get the x on its own. So 44 over 15. We can't do anything with that. You don't need to reach for your calculator, as we can leave it as 44 over 15. Second example, 2/3 x plus 4 equals 4 over 7. So we want to multiply by a single number that will get rid of a dividing 3 and a dividing 7. If you want, consider the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. The multiples of 7, 7, 14, 21, stop. We've got 21 here and 21 here. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 7 is 21. So we're going to multiply by 21. What do we multiply by 21? We multiply the 2, we'll multiply the 4, we'll multiply the 4. 2 times 21 is 42. 21 times 4 is 84, and 21 times 4 is 84. Remember again to multiply all three terms, and remember not to multiply the denominator of the fraction. How many times does 3 go into 42? This can be a wee bit tricky. 3 into 42 is 14. And then 7 into 84 goes 12 times. Now, what we want to do next, we've only got the one letter term, so we can leave the 14x where it is. I'll subtract 84 from both sides. We're going to end up with a negative answer. 12 take away 84 is minus 72. And the next thing to do is to divide by 14, and it's minus 72 over 14. Now, what we're going to have to do is to divide both of those by, certainly by 2, and that would give us minus 36 over 7. We can't go any further than that. There is the answer then. Now example 3 is an interesting example for a few reasons. First of all, we don't have any of this type in the textbook, but you did have to deal with something like this in first year. So we have a negative letter term with a fraction. So we've got the negative to deal with, and we have the fraction to deal with. Now, the second thing is, how do we get rid of a dividing 4 and a dividing 2? Now, I suspect some of you will think 4 times 2 gives us 8. Well, we could use 8. Let's just check. What's the lowest common multiple of 2 and 4? What's the smallest number that divides by 2 and by 4? So I'm writing out the multiples here, and you've guessed it. The smallest multiple of 2 and 4 is in fact 4. So while I could multiply by 8, I'm just going to multiply by 4. It's not wrong to multiply by 8, but it does mean that the answer has to be simplified at the end. Next question then, what are we going to multiply by 4? This, and this, and this. 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 3 is 12, over 4x. 4 times 1 is 4 over 2. 16, 12 over 4 is 3x, and 4 over 2 is 2. Now, we have only one letter term, that's the minus 3x, but we have two number terms. We should really gather the number terms after the letter terms. So what could we do? Well, what I'm going to do here is subtract 16 from both sides. And that's a bit of a problem because it means that we have negatives, but we should be able to deal with those. So that's a minus 3x, and 2 take away 16 is minus 14. To get the x on its own, we're going to divide by minus 3. So it's minus 14 over minus 3. And that only simplifies by removing the negatives from top and bottom. So 14 over 3. And out of interest, if you wanted to convert that into anything, don't use your calculator. We don't want a decimal. What you could do is, here we have a vulgar fraction, top-heavy fraction. What we could do is convert it into a mixed number. 3 goes into 14 4 times, and we have 2 left over. So it's 4 and 2/3 is the answer. Now, what I'd like you to do is to go to page 139 of your textbooks, and it's exercise 12.3, and it's going to be question 2G to L, equations involving two fractions.